call?
Sure.
Sorry, ignore that.
Chair Ravazio,
Here.
Vice Chair McPherson,
Here.
Committee Member Garza,
Here.
Committee Member Janati,
Here.
Committee Member Knopfsager.
Here.
Okay.
Thank you. Open time for the public. This is for items that are on the agenda. Is there any member of the public that wishes to speak in the meeting? We have one.
Do I need to come over here?
Yeah, you can, this is picking you up, so it's best to just be somewhere up front.
Hello, EPAC, David Bell, Corte Madera, Echo Avenue. Several things for your awareness. Bayside Trail. I've made a plea for you to come visit it. I live close to it. I walk it every day with my dog. It's become a safety hazard. It's not just e-bikes, but bikes in general are going, even on Sunday, yesterday morning, it was way too fast. I do not feel safe as a pedestrian walking Bayside Trail. I know we can't regulate e-bike rules but let's start with something, speed limit sign, speed bumps, anything to slow down bikers on the Bayside Trail. Please come visit it at school time, on the weekends. And then second, also for the pedestrians on Bayside Trail, the weeds are an embarrassment to the town. I know it's not BPAC to cut the weeds, but the weeds along Bayside Trail is an embarrassment. At least they can cut along the park benches and the facilities. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member of the public wish to speak? Anybody?
No. If anyone online wants to speak, please raise your hand. And we'll call on you.
Okay.
Nobody, but there was one email comment.
Okay.
Just a second.
Let's turn on the timer.
Yeah.
Turn it on.
Okay. You got it? Okay, cool. So this is from Henry Fost. I'm writing to you because I've witnessed increasingly aggressive and potentially lethal driving on Corte Madera streets. I witnessed car crashes, automobile speeds exceeding 95 miles per hour on San Clemente and Paradise, and near fatal misses of pedestrians and bicyclists. Today, I'm proposing safety improvements to the Paradise Drive and Prince Royal intersection. Furthermore, I have included 3 photos of one of a preventable car crash in the same intersection, 2 of 2 runners running in the gutter next to a proposed sidewalk, and 3 of a nighttime unlit Paradise Drive where I'm proposing streetlights be installed. This comment and the pictures will be online so everyone can see. The Paradise Drive Prince Royal intersection, as it's currently built, is problematic and dangerous for various reasons. But first, there are problems with the excessive speeding of through traffic heading westward and eastward. The speeding through traffic regularly fails to yield to bicyclists, pedestrians, and fellow motorists at this intersection. The lack of significant traffic calming at this intersection causes confusion on yielding. I'm proposing that a 4-way permanently flashing yield sign be installed at the intersection to calm speeding traffic and force safe yielding. Rumble strips and speed cushions should be installed before the intersection. Safety doesn't work on the honor system. It has to be mandatory through road design. The white lane markers should have plastic bollards installed on them before the intersection to prevent last-minute lane changes and reckless maneuvers. According to numerous studies, narrow lanes slow drivers and save lives. We should institute a maximum 11-foot lane width town-wide. This is the minimum width to accommodate a fire engine with mirrors. My second proposal is to build an 8-foot sidewalk on the north end of Paradise Drive between Mariner Cove and Prince Royal. The right-of-way is wide enough to easily fit an 8-foot path while also accommodating the privacy of nearby neighbors with plant and tree screenings. This sidewalk would connect the two bus stops and instantly increase the walkability and connectivity. Additionally, we should widen the pre-existing southern 4-foot sidewalk to 8 feet to accommodate the American with Disabilities Act and increased foot traffic. Lastly, my third proposal is to install streetlights between Mariner Cove and Prince Royal Drive. Currently, there's no streetlights between these two intersections, and it's dark, dangerous, and uninviting journey. We need to install LED dark sky. Okay. There's a little bit left, but we'll, as I mentioned, we'll post this on the BPAC website, so it can be read after the fact.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else or?
Let's see.
Okay, let's do that also.
Oh, they're not, let's see.
Oh, is it?
Sorry, I'm having some technical challenges.
Since the last BPAC. Chair Lavazio, member, BPAC member, Longdown, and I spoke at the Transportation Authority of Marin's most recent meeting regarding prioritizing the southern segment of the north-south greenway, which would be from Warnham Boulevard, the underpass, going behind the trailer parks and behind Trader Joe's to industrial. Also, since the last BPAC, I talked about the banners that are for the give 3 feet. And the town has given me dates for that, and I'm gonna pick up those banners, and so we'll be able to install those for 2 5-week periods of time this year and next. And that's all I have to report.
Great, thank you. Any other reports from community members? Hearing none. I'll move on to discussion items. 5A, discussion on possible consideration to support the installation of a donated memorial bicycle rack for Cindy Winter and Yankee Park. It is winter, right?
Yes, winter.
Yes,
Winter, oh, sorry.
it's winter's on here, but
Winter. Well, oh, Chris.
Oh, let me just check. Rogers on here, because I think he wanted to touch on that a little bit.
Looks like he's on Corte Madera.
Oh, there we go. Sorry, give me 1 second. It's my computers. Okay, so yeah, in the last meeting, we had some discussion about having basically talked about the donating a memorial bicycle rack for Cindy Winters in Minky Park. So the purpose was to just bring it back tonight and just have a quick discussion, just to voice everyone's approval of that and to allow us to move forward. And I think, yeah, the thought was to just pick a location in Minky Park to install it. David sent two ideas. So here, this is from Tam West Drive, or I guess this is Redwood, looking into the park. And I think we've already ruled up the left one because it's too steep, but potentially the right side could be an option. We're open to that or other locations. So yeah, just wanted to open up to discussion just to see if anyone else has ideas or thoughts on it.
Okay, thank you very much. Any, first up, any questions from members? Okay, then let's go to.
Well, one question. If, let's say, the BPAC considers a great idea, has ideas about location, not necessarily fixed, maybe some ideas about the look and feel of it. What do you think the next process would be? Would it have to come before the town council before there's any other movement, or how would it work?
I don't believe so.
Happy to jump in here. Good evening, BPAC. So really, kind of why we're asking for your feedback and potential support here is because we don't really have a memorial bench or bike rack process yet. And so, you know, we want to make sure we go through some channels to show community support instead of just you know, proving on the spot, because, you know, if we do that, then what's stopping any other Joe Schmo from doing the same thing? And what if that Joe Schmo is not favorable in town, to say the least? So this is just a mechanism where we can show that we've obtained community support, assuming that we do hear that today. Separately, you know, we don't necessarily need to bring it back unless that's something that really people want to pine on. But if you know, as long as we have a consensus from several of the members, that works for us. I think we're just talking about potentially the look or style of it, unless there's other aspects that we need to get into.
Okay, so you're just looking for feedback from feedback on this, right?
Yeah, I think confirmation that this is something we should support. And then separately, any feedback that you want to provide in terms of style, location, details of that matter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really business side. Is there any member of the public who wishes to comment on this? Yeah, go ahead, David.
Thanks.
David Bell, Echo Avenue, totally in support of this. Just consider waiting till after October when we will stage, or the town will stage Oktoberfest. In the past, we set up temporary bike racks at the Oktoberfest, and I'd hate to see a permanent or even temporary bike thing not be able to be utilized at a major event like Oktoberfest. And looking at that, I see a problem with the one on the right, because they put fencing around that, and that would preclude it being used at the Oktoberfest. That's all.
Okay, back to the feedback or comments, discussion, feedback.
There's one comment online, actually.
Okay.
Pat, you can unmute yourself. Pat, you can unmute yourself and speak now. Hello.
Okay,
That was the only one, so.
okay, go ahead, Cheryl.
Yeah, I originally brought this up because, in Cindy's, request, she gave me $5,000. And I thought there would be no better use for it than to install bike racks in the town. She contributed to this town, as different people here know, coming to our meetings. She also was, instrumental in getting additional racks set up at our library branch. This was from, Bay Area Air Quality Management District, a grant through that, but she was instrumental in getting that set up. So I think this is really a good idea. I like the locations there. I understand there's problems with them, but it's nice to have something visible for the street and an entrance. And I have gotten one, I think the design is something that should be talked about at another point, but there is a possibility of getting a design with kind of a standard staple rack, but having a cross piece that would be, I guess, laser cut so that it shows the town logo. I'll pass that down to people who are looking at it. And there's a possibility on the bid there at in last August, it was four of those staple designs for about $2,700. So we could easily get 6 with the request.
Okay.
Oh, and one more thing, Cindy's being recognized also at the ribbon cutting ceremony that I mentioned, and Larkspur is going to dedicate that section of the path. I don't know if the lights are part of that, but just the section of path is going to be, they're going to get a plaque eventually. Cindy recognized there.
Thank you.
But
Anybody else?
Cheryl, can you clarify? Because, yeah, I mean, I guess I wasn't under the impression we were doing multiple locations. Is that what I just heard?
There were what?
Is your proposal to have multiple locations, multiple racks, or was it just one rack location?
My personal preference would be Menke Park, in one location there. But I'm not, I don't have a lot of, I'm not set in stone on that. I think I just would like to see this move forward in some fashion and where a place where the racks are visible and are likely to be used.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand the quantity. Was it that there would be kind of 4 identical racks all in one place right next to each other, meaning like on the same concrete slab, or?
I think that might constrain where they would go. And so if the best places are with 2 racks in one place and 2 racks in another place, I think that might be better than in the 2 locations that Chris has shown on the slide. I don't think 4 racks would fit. I'm not sure exactly because I'm looking just at a photo, but I'm not sure 4 racks would fit there. So
I think, I'm just trying to be conscious of precedents and also what we've done in the past. I'm not aware of where we've done, for instance, 2 benches for any one person. So maybe, I don't know if that's something we ought to discuss, but I think I'm definitely talking about at minimum of 1 location, but I think we might have to get back to you on if we're going to be doing multiple locations.
So RJ, I know that you didn't have the ability to see the design that Cheryl was distributing, but it was a rack that really is about the town, the laser cutting had the logo for the town. So it wouldn't be six necessarily if we went with something that Cheryl has got sketching, would be 4 racks that all had laser cut with the name Cindy Winters on it. It could be 4 racks
Yeah,
that are all town of Corte Madera and a single memorial plaque that says these racks were provided, these 4 racks were provided by a bequest by Cindy Winters or something like that, the town recognizes Cindy. So
They-
yeah, they were not all expressly for Cindy name.
I don't think Cindy would want her name on it. As much as she, this is her rack file. She was into it. But yeah, I think just a single plaque, even if the racks have to be in 2 locations, a single plaque at one of those locations. That's what I would envision.
I will mention also, we have the other project, the bicycle parking expansion, and I think I showed that in the last meeting, and so we were planning to install 4 racks farther down this path. So there could be some opportunity to combine.
So my comment is, I'm all for bike racks at Yankee Park. I'm all for artful bike racks that celebrate and distinguish Corte Madera, as well as recognize the invaluable input from Cindy Winters over many years. So it's such a win-win project. And I just wanted to comment on why I sent that photo with those parts marked. Hopefully, when people start commuting more by bus, which seems to be picking up, that's a location where people have historically ridden their bikes, taken the bus to whatever location they're commuting to and picked up their bikes at the end of the day. Those 2 locations are highly visible. The one on the right, if there's some trimming of those hedges, would accommodate, I think, 4 U-shaped staple style that we're discussing. And then, of course, wherever it's level enough to be graded for additional racks is great. My only point in bringing that photo in is that location is highly visible to street traffic, to pedestrian traffic, to people that are in cars, bicycling, buses. And so it provides a certain deterrent to theft because it's so visible and it's so close to the 2 bus stops on either side. So I'm all in favor of this, and it seems to me in terms of process, if Cheryl circulates by email to Department of Public Works and other members of the DPAC, and we all sort of agree on sort of an overall design that we support, then Public Works should take it from there.
And kind of comment on that location. I think it's a great location. I used to take the bus and it'd be great to have that amenity there. But I'm also aware of a lot of business activity that's going on further back. And I know that believe the parking is getting restriped, redeveloped. There's development going on there. And I guess my question is, with all the commercial activity, you also see like you're saying, this is a highly visible thing. So it becomes an attractive spot for the businesses to put sandwich boards or any other person to utilize that space to advertise. And I don't know if there's any restrictions on that area for that type of activity, but I'm just curious, there may be some conflict, with the type of activity that goes on at that parking entrance.
And Chris and RJ can speak to the sandwich board. My understanding of the sign ordinances in Corte Madera is that sandwich boards are more, people just do them, but they're not typically approved.
Yeah, we don't really allow private signs in the right of way. The only ones that we would are the banner frames, and those get approved by council.
Okay, any further discussion? Yes, no, okay.
Shall we make a motion or do we?
This is really a business item, it's just a discussion, and we actually don't have any business items, so.
Okay.
But I think you have direction from us, so,
Sounds good.
and no S on winter.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Make sure you get, make sure you get that one,
Yeah,
that'd be a bad one to miss.
yeah, I'm about to crack.
Okay, let's move on to project updates. Project A, 2024 sidewalk replacement project.
Okay, so yeah, the next few project updates are gonna be presented by Dimitri and Nick, so I will pass it off to Dimitri to take on the next two.
Good evening, Deepak. I think I was here last year doing like a general overview of the sidewalk pilot program, so we've still been going pretty strong with it. Again, this is just an update for our sidewalk replacement project. It's one of our 4 strategies that we use to assist homeowners with just maintaining their sidewalk areas in a safe way. The three other strategies are the sidewalk grinding that we do. We select neighborhoods and they try to grind whatever tripping hazards or offsets that they can. Capital improvement projects where we will repair a certain amount of sidewalk as a part of our projects. And then we have the individual grants that we allow property owners to apply for, given that they're eligible and complete the work. And this one is the 4th strategy, so it is grant based, but the town is, we go into a zone, like this year it is the lower Christmas Tree Hill area. It's kind of that bottom of Christmas Tree Hill, Redwood neighborhood, and Willow, Pixley, those streets. So this idea is that we find, multiple properties that are interested in having us bid out the work to a contractor and getting economy of scale pricing. So yeah, last year we did Mariner Cove, or I think it was the year before. And this one, like I said, is Lower Christmas Tree Hill. We just bid it last month and awarded it to TCW Concrete Inc. In the amount of $55,841. Through this project, there is going to be a little bit over 1,000 square feet of damaged or uplifted sidewalk being replaced. And construction is expected to begin at the end of this month on May 30th. And it should be completed hopefully by the end of June. So yeah, I just wanted to give a brief update. Those are some of the properties that are going to be having some sidewalk work or tree removals and replacements of trees that are lifting the sidewalk.
Any questions from Deepak for staff?
Did I understand that those properties are the properties where homeowners reached out to DPW and the there's some contribution by the homeowner as well as the town?
Yeah, that's good. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. So, yeah, so we reached out, we sent out letters to this zone and we said, hey, if there's anyone interested, we met with them, identified the eligible properties. And, yeah, so then we bid it out, get the pricing, and we show them, hey, this is how much grant you'll receive. They don't pay until the end. Once the project's completed, then we come back and say, here's the amount that you had already agreed to before. And, they would just reimburse us for that amount.
And how many homes, how many properties were identified, if you know?
This one is about 15 in this area.
I'm wondering, I think this is a great program as it is, but another aspect of sidewalk safety and usage is vegetation that overhangs and gets in the way. And I'm wondering, since you're contacting residents and homeowners, if that could also be included, to just advise them that, I think at the last PPAC meeting, there was presentation that talked about the standards for that, and just to remind homeowners, because there are a lot of places where two people can't walk side by side, and if someone were in a wheelchair, they'd have trouble, and I think people just need a reminder.
Yeah.
And it seems that you're already communicating with them.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I'm sure we can do some type of, what's it called? notification reminding,
In features.
yeah,
Yeah.
future, in addition to the sidewalk notifications.
Yeah, right now it's mainly just complaint based, so if we receive complaints about overgrown vegetation, then our code enforcement will send a letter to tell them to trim it, so. That's kind of the system right now, but never hurts to let people know.
And this is Lower Christmas Tree Hill. Have you sort of mapped out the entire town and is it going sort of neighborhood by neighborhood for announcements and then going out and identifying which properties?
Yeah, that's the idea. Each year we're trying to tackle a different zone. We have 10 different zones total. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, wasn't the idea that a volunteer from the neighborhood would request to basically have us do that neighborhood each time? But I believe the only neighborhood that actually requested was Mariner Cove, so we've kind of just been choosing ourselves and moving around.
So that's correct. If someone does volunteer their time and effort, such as Paul Bundy and Susie Beatty did in Mariner Cove, we would potentially prioritize them in the upcoming year. Otherwise, we just look at projects we're doing and just overall workload and try and find something that fits appropriately.
Thank you, Roger. Any other questions from feedback? Does anybody, member of the public, wish to comment on this? Hearing none.
No one online.
Okay, any comments from feedback, further comments? Any comments? Okay,
I just want to say again, this has been in the works for a few years and piggybacked on some other communities that were doing this that was successful. I just applaud the Department of Public Works for taking this on and accomplishing what you're accomplishing.
The sidewalk improvements are great everywhere you go. You see people, things grinded. It's really helpful.
It's good to hear.
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, item 6B, Echo Avenue Connection.
Yeah, so this one, we have an upcoming Echo Avenue connector path. I don't know how familiar you all are with it, but the idea is that we want to enhance the existing path between San Clemente Drive multi-use path and Echo Avenue by constructing this 10-foot wide Class 1 multi-use AC bike path. So the work, there's a photo right there. It's kind of the area. Work will include paving, minor concrete, minor storm drainage improvements, and an ADA compliant sidewalk and ramp near Echo Avenue. The construction is expected to cost $200,000. And we actually received some transportation fund of clean air funds for the project in the amount of $175,000. So the town recently completed the design and we received right-of-way permitting from the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. And we're expecting to begin construction in the fall of this year. We have a slide. It's just giving more detail, maybe more detail than we need for this meeting, but just wanted to kind of show the idea. So there's going to be a 10-foot AC path, and then there's going to be 2-foot shoulders on either side of the path. As mentioned, we're going to be replacing the culvert underneath, like the center area there, that black and white section is. And I want to point out as well on the Echo Avenue side, there's going to be like a concrete sidewalk or concrete slip path that connects over to Echo Avenue sidewalk on that end. So that's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from feedback? Yes, yeah.
I think currently, at least my recollection, there's been like a chain from across the path at the end of Echo. Is that going to stay there so that, and basically, because then a rider has to get on the sidewalk to get to the path, and that seems kind of,
Or they cut across, I live right on 48.
Sir, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
We will do public comment in 1 minute, so we just gotta keep things going. Thank you. Finish your-
So is the plan to continue the chain across so you can't get from the street to the path?
No, those chains are gonna be removed. You're talking about like near where that concrete slip path is shown?
Yeah,
Yeah.
instead of using the slip path, you could just go straight to the street.
Yeah, it's gonna be removed.
Okay,
There'll be a bollard installed like in the center of the path and then a new concrete ramp that slopes down to the road.
Any other questions from Deepak?
As I remember how many kids would use it in the mornings and afternoons. Has Department of Public Works ever undertaken any sort of head count on the weekends or gotten feedback from the neighborhood? It seems really well used and a great project, but do you have any head count idea?
I'm not aware if we've done any counts before. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of school traffic to and from on the path, so that was kind of the main reasoning behind the project.
Yeah, I think we just heard from the public that a lot of kids, instead of going around the Paradise side, they kind of like to go through that neighborhood and prefer that.
Thank you. Any other questions? Given a little up to the public for coming, as a member of the public who wishes to comment on this topic.
Yes, I live right on that corner on 48. I'd say there's probably estimated about 200 people a day, since that's right near our bedroom. They cut across our lawn and they cut the corner where we've had to put flower pots. And so that's a very tight corner right there. And we'd really like to see the design that's going in, because it definitely affects us. Kids with the e-bikes come right across our lawn and go right onto that path. So it's a very busy area. I don't know if my wife may be on, but there's 10 foot seems fairly wide for that area. And if there's a way to push the path further in and it's we'd really like to see the design more clearly on how it affects us. And there's a lot of car traffic as well with all the dog walkers. There's where you say that chain, people park in front of there every day. So it's a very busy area. We support the project. Excuse me. But it's just, the design is essential. There's also a block of land that is undetermined to the, I guess you're looking at the west side. There's a piece of land that has not been, I believe it's up for sale. There's a little slip. So we'd really like to be involved in the design, because it affects us every day. I've had lights broken every other month. We have a decorative light and people just rip right through it.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comment?
Yes, may I approach the screen?
Sure, go ahead, David.
David Bell, Echo Avenue, yeah, really close. So Ms. Logan, the chain at the end of the path at Echo has been removed for a year and a half now. However, kids in Evermont still ride across my neighbor's yard right here, because there's a big curve there. And if you're on a mountain bike, fine, but kids still jump on this sidewalk here, ride through Bill's front yard, or there's a slight little path there, but in the winter it fills up and it gets muddy. At this culvert, right now, it's basically half a foot wide due to the weeds that have grown there. So really look forward to this. I agree, 10 foot, as this team knows, this group knows, been a long proponent of this. But 10 feet does seem a little extreme. I guess it's consistent with the Bayside Trail that it's going to connect with. And then please consider speed bumps. As I said earlier, kids, everyone's going way too fast. And especially in this with tight corners and limited visibility, I see problem if there's speed is not controlled with some type of mechanism.
Thank you, David. Back to the VPAC, any comments for Scott?
Okay,
Sorry,
do
we
you
want
want
to comment
mine?
online. Thank you.
Yeah. Meryl, you can unmute yourself and speak.
Okay, there we go. I don't have any way to unmute me myself. There, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'd like to comment on the project. I live on Echo Avenue 2, and several concerns. One, that's a big path for that area. You know, there's some, I don't know how the impacts on the wetlands have been considered in the permit. I don't know about that. I haven't read it. And then my concern is there are a lot of little kids on that road that have such fun being together. And people, as our other neighbor said, go speeding down there on their bikes, especially e-bikes, the kind that are like motorcycles. And there's bikes along there all the time. And usually the bikers who ride a regular bike are pretty good at, you know, sticking to good regulations of their movement. But a lot of bikes go speeding along there, and I worry about the kids. And for me, I walk in a walker, so I'm a little concerned about my, too. But so the wetlands protection and the kids that are on that, a lot of little kids on that the Echo's only 2 blocks, really, sort of 2 blocks long. And they're often out playing, and I worry about the speed and people racing through there. And as another neighbor said, there's lots of traffic through there coming across that little dirt path that's there now. And so I would wish to have the path been a little less big than 10 feet across, but I doubt that I can impact that right now. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else, Chris?
Yes, we have Matthew Hertzel. You can unmute yourself.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Matt Hartzell here, supporter of the project. I I support the width in the current design. Since we're hearing a lot of community concern about bikes and pedestrians and potential conflicts, I think you want to have a path that's as wide as possible to allow for safe passage of different modes at different speeds. And I think that's what you have here in this design. I just have one question about the design. I noticed in the cross sections on this drawing, they're kind of small in the corner. It looks like the path is a little bit raised up. And I was wondering, are you planning to actually raise it up with some fill, or is that just the natural existing footprint of the project is already raised up and you're just putting the path on top of that raised section? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
We have one more. Bradley, you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, hi everybody. So my name is Bradley Reeves. I live at 3 Echo. And I share a lot of the other concerns expressed from other residents on this street. I have 2 little kids that play out in our street all the time. The comments earlier about the speed of e-bikes and the frequency of e-bikes is a lot. I am concerned about turning what is supposed to be a cul-de-sac, what is supposed to be a dead-end street, into a thoroughfare, and proposing that people are using our neighborhood street for that kind of through traffic when it wasn't designed to be. That trail at the end is the product of people riding their bikes on an unofficial path, and making it official with such a wide path is just going to encourage even more traffic, not just kids on their bikes going to school, but likely cyclists wanting to cut through there. So I'm not excited about it. If it is a project that must go through, then enough measure needs to be taken to make sure that the path is small enough and that bikes have to slow down or be walked in order to cut through. But to turn it into a thoroughfare is a bad idea.
Okay, thank you. Chris, anyone else?
That's it online.
Okay. Then we'll close public comment. Do you want to, or RJ want to address any of the questions?
Yeah, I can address a few of them. So the first one about, bicyclists cutting across, I think right now there's a small informal, the whole thing's dirt, but there's a dirt cut across here. And I think the design's purpose is that bicyclists will use this ramp to enter next to the street straight from the path. And so that would put bicyclists in the street and not trying to go on the sidewalk or cutting this corner. So that was kind of the intent there. 10 feet is generally the recommended width for a class 1 path. As Matt mentioned, it's good to have more space to accommodate people walking and biking. So, some paths go down to 8 feet, but it does get more crowded and it's not as recommended. Let's see. As far as environment, we already had a environmental consultant and biologist take a look at the site, and they said there would be no impacts. So that was our determination for this project. We're basically building on top of an existing dirt path, so there's really no impacts and no sense of habitat in the area. As far as e-bikers, that's kind of a regional issue. I don't know if there's much we could do to control speeds for e-bikes, specifically for this project. And then as far as go ahead, RJ.
Yeah, so first off, I wanted to just respond to the 2 residents that live there. We'd be more than happy to meet you out there and just really better understand your concerns. So, myself and or staff are happy to do that. I want to make sure we do that relatively soon. That way we can make any adjustments as needed to the design. Separately, the project footprint is not intended to, or will not impact any biological species. We have a environmental memo that we shared with CDFW as well, and they were supportive. There is some, as it's right on the marsh, there is sensitive habitat in the greater area. One of the reasons we're waiting until September is because there's potential ridgeway rail nesting here. And so by waiting till September 1, we can avoid their nesting season. And then just in general, the e-bike issue for those that are paying attention, it's really widespread right now. It's a challenge for everyone. I think every agency, including school districts and police authorities, are really doing everything they can on the issue. But it's there's a number of things that are happening that we can perhaps speak to when if we agendize it in the future. But there's some other strategies that are happening, but I think that's more of a larger issue that we'll be tackling. I don't know if it's so much that this project will be able to solve and address that, but definitely as we look at the connection point on Echo and sight lines, we can see if there's a way to make sure we're doing everything we can there. So hopefully that answered I don't know if there was any other that we missed. Oh, the profile. Yeah, we are raising the path slightly. At a minimum, the thickness of the section of that, aggregate base plus asphalt section. And so there is a low spot there now that we've had to do some maintenance on in the winter months. And so by building it up, I don't know, what's it say there, Chris? I'm guessing
it's 4 inches. Well, we'll be digging down a bit, but the profile thickness is 4 inches of aggregate base and then 5.5 inches of asphalt. Because the path is partially used by our maintenance staff to reach the levee, so it has to accommodate light trucks.
Thank you. RJ, thank you, Chris. Back to VPAC, does anyone wish to comment on this or? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, is assuming the shortcut traffic is trying to go south, right at the east end of this. Is there a way to redirect it so so it is the exit point is more southerly? So at least mentally you feel like, either way you're gonna want to go the shortest path possible. So I think the want to shortcut that at the end is gonna still be in place. It'll probably still happen. And is it like where the culvert is at that point, can you head east, more due east and then end up where you're pointing downward south? And I don't know how far along this is and how much what's going on there with the topo and such, but if there's any way to create that mental, get over that mental block of redirecting yourself to get off the path. To enter.
I think in general, we were following the existing alignment of the kind of dirt trail. And that little sidewalk connector is also where there's a dirt, trail right now. So generally following that. And then also, there are some property lines we're trying to avoid. So we're basically right up against it at the bottom of that curve. So can't really go any farther to the south.
I think just taking a close look at the sight lines where we intersect to make sure there's good visibility. And then I think also introducing some sharrows at the cul-de-sac just to, be a signal to motorists and pedestrians and other folks that, there's bike traffic.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, the way it is right now, it's a 90-degree turn, which slows traffic, bicyclists down. And yeah, e-bikes need to wake up or, there's gonna be a day of reckoning soon. I would guess. We're all scared of e-bikes.
I've seen several accidents.
I'll put that on the record. We're all scared of e-bikes. Cheryl?
I'm wondering if, to alleviate the cutting across the lawn, if there's space in the town's right of way to put some, big enough boulders, not huge, but big enough to keep bikes from cutting across private property.
Yeah, we can look at any option and we'll probably want to speak to the homeowners, see what would work for everyone. So, yeah.
Yeah, or potentially a split rail fence or something of that nature. But yeah, I'd like to continue that conversation with my homeowners.
So my only comment is I think this came before the BPAC at least 8 years ago. I think David Bell may have been one of the first and there has been many comments. It's been agendized before, comments at open time. And so this project has been in the works for a long time. Everyone's concerned about speed and conflict between pedestrians and perhaps particularly the e-bikes that are excessive. But 10 foot is wise and appropriate width. It's sort of counterproductive to think, oh, we don't want it to be wide. To slow speed down means that what you're doing is you're putting people who are walking potentially with a walker, using them as speed bumps to slow down kids on e-bikes. So the greater the width, the theory is, of course, you're going to reduce the conflict between a person on a bike, perhaps an inexperienced person on a bike who's younger and going too fast, and other users. So the 10-foot wide to me is the minimum that should be done. And I applaud RJ's comment to work with the homeowner at 48 Echo to come up with whatever is an appropriate barrier to prevent users from dropping prematurely to the south and cutting across that homeowner's property. Whatever the solution is, I'm sure that something attractive can be worked out.
Well said, David, well said.
Okay, thank you. And just final, I just had one thing. RJ, once again, your grant writing ability astounds me. I mean, congratulations. Thank you for getting the grant to work on this. This
Here.
Thank you. Way to go, RJ. Thank you. Okay, let's move on to item C, Casa Buena Complete Streets. Another one that's been around so long.
Yes, exactly. So Nick Cartagena is on Zoom and he's taking over the project. He's gonna take it to completion. So he's here tonight to talk about the remaining design and other topics. So take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Chris, and thanks to BPAC for having me here. So I'm the new senior civil engineer, just a recent hire in public works. Very excited to be here and join the team and trying to get some of these these projects that have been on the books for a while, trying to get them in the ground. So I'm here to talk about the Casa Buena Complete Streets project. As the title states, we're in the final design. We're just wrapping up final design and we're gearing up for construction. This project's been in front of BPAC a couple of times, at least 2017 and then last fall in 2023. We're looking to wrap up design and get it out to bid very soon and hoping to have construction start this summer, looking to have the project completed by the end of the year. The purpose of the project, and again, forgive me if I'm repeating things that you've heard before, but the purpose of the project is to connect the Horse Hill Class 1 path to the existing Class 2 bike lanes further north. This is a big bike route in the community and in the county, so we're trying to close that gap. The project is funded from another grant-funded project, $416,000 from the TFCA grant, and then the rest is being funded from Measure F capital funds. We're improving close to a mile of roadway from the Tesla dealership down south to the Horse Hill path, just a little bit past the path, actually. And Chris, you can move to the next slide. So the key improvements, we're repaving the roadway. We're extending the sidewalk further south. We're adding bicycle facilities, which we'll get into in a little bit more detail, and other bicycle and pedestrian safety improvements. And then incidentally, we have to add some retaining walls and obviously new curb and gutter for the sidewalks. So we're adding about a third of a mile of new sidewalk on the west side of Casa Buena. This extends us down south, so we're significantly extending the pedestrian experience and making it safer. And then we're also adding class 2 bike lanes southbound and shared vehicle bike lane on the northbound direction. So the class 2 is in more of the uphill direction, which is why we chose to have the bike lane on that side. And then we're also we have a bid alternate that we're proposing in our bid plans to allow for solar lighting if funding allows. So that's something that we're hoping to be able to include in the project as well. Next slide. And then I'm going to focus a little bit more on the 101 Casa Buena and Meadow Valley intersection. So north of this intersection, as mentioned, we have a bike lane in the southbound direction. And then south of this intersection, we move the southbound bicyclists over to the east side of the road to a shared path that has a buffered area from vehicles. the thinking is to get them on that side of the road for the Horse Hill path to connect to the Horse Hill path a little further down. The other improvement that we're making is we're adding, this right now is mostly an uncontrolled intersection. There's only a stop sign for Meadow Valley Road. We're adding all-way stops, so we're adding stops to Casa Buena as well to make it safer for bicyclists in both directions, and also for the vehicles. A lot of what we've seen is a lot of the southbound vehicles going onto the 101 entrance make a quick turn onto 101. So we wanted to make sure that they stop and yield to bicyclists that are coming off the pathway. And I think that's kind of wraps things up. I'm happy to take questions, but again, this is just kind of wrapping things up in its final design, and we're looking to go to construction pretty soon.
Thank you. Any questions from DPAC members?
Well, will those design and the slides be put on the website so that we can look more closely, because it's hard to make that out.
Yeah, we'll post this whole presentation on the website, on the DPAC website.
On the first slide, that shows the uphill southbound lane having the class 2 bike lane. If you take the entire roadway right of way, does that mean that the center line is kind of asymmetrical? It's pushed to one side to give you more room for the uphill cyclist to have the class 2 lane?
I don't know offhand if we're shifting the center line, but just looking at this section, it is off-centered because we have a sidewalk, a parking lane, a bike lane, and then the southbound vehicle lane, and then you have the northbound shared vehicle and bike lane, and then the Caltrans right of way with a fence. So I'm not sure if that totally answers your question.
And how wide are the motor vehicle lanes?
I believe 11.5 feet each way.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question about the next slide over where you had the bike traffic going two directions. What was that? Yeah, where is that?
That's where if you're driving, I guess it'd be south on Casa Buena. At one point there's a freeway on ramp.
Yeah.
Kind of right before you get to Horse Hill.
Right.
And
Yes.
so, oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna comment. So yeah, this project has been in development for a long time. I think I was even, when I first started here, leading it back in 2018. And it was at 95% then. So part of today is a refresher and then also a highlight of some of the kind of refinements we've made. And this is being one of the key ones. So we worked with, so CSW is the designer, but we decided to bring in Parisi for this intersection in particular, just given it was a tricky one. And so we had multiple rounds back and forth, kind of seeing what could be done. And this was something they came up with and actually presented some precedents in, other jurisdictions. I think several in the East Bay where this has been done successfully. And so, yeah, at first glance, I know for me it was, I just hadn't seen it definitely in Marin. But with the introduction of these stop signs on all three sides, currently you just have the one stop sign at Meadow Valley Road. That to me allows for that kind of diagonal movement for the southbound cyclists, given cars are gonna have to make a full stop. So, and then from there on, so from the south side of that intersection, it would behave like a multi-use path until it connects to Horse Hill.
Any other questions? Cool. Okay, no other questions from DPAC. Does the public have any comments on this? See any public comment? Any?
We got two online.
Okay.
Warren, you can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Thanks. This is Warren Wells from the Marin County Bicycle Coalition. Just wanted to voice my support for the project, particularly the changes here at the US 101 southbound on-ramp. RJ, I appreciate you guys taking a look at this. I know we had talked about it maybe a couple years ago at this point, especially for those northbound downhill riders. It was a hazard for southbound drivers making it left on US 101. We actually had a family friend who was injured in the crash, in just such a crash. So really appreciate the additional work on this. I think it's a good change. Yep. Anyway, good work. And thanks for looking at the project that I know is almost done. So good work, and looking forward to seeing this in the ground.
Thank you. Chris, anything else?
One more. Matt, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Matt, again, I'll make this real brief. Yeah, I also echo Warren's comments that I commented on the previous iterations of this, particularly with regard to this intersection at the freeway entrance, and it looks like you found a good solution and improvement. So look forward to the project getting in the ground. Thank you for taking public comment on it, and good luck.
Thank you, Matt. Back to the BPAC. Anyone wish to comment on this? No.
I just want to thank everybody that's worked on it, particularly taking another look at this particular intersection. Having those stop signs is going to make it substantially safer for anyone who's not ridden that northbound. Once you come off Horse Hill, strong cyclists going downhill can easily get 45 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour, where cars can make that left turn to enter the freeway. If the car doesn't see you, that's a perfect place for a very serious, if not fatal, collision. So those stop signs are fantastic. And I always comment that I prefer to see motor vehicle lanes as narrow as is appropriate. Maybe 11'6" is appropriate for all of this. My only thought is that if they're slightly less wide, even 6 inches to 11 foot in each direction, that would give the class 2 bike lane another full foot of striping for people to struggle up that uphill. So if that's a possibility, possibly reduce the lanes to 11 foot.
I think a little bit of the trade-off, if I may, Vice Chair, is going north. There is going to be a sharrow, so shared traffic. So, I think there might be a little benefit of that extra width, given cyclists and cars are going to be sharing that lane going northbound. But we're happy to take a look at that and kind of sharpen our pencil and double check.
Thank you. Yeah, the northbound traffic, good road bikers can easily keep up with the cars going northbound until they get around Marin Joe's.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you. Great to see another long-term project moving forward. It's been going on for a while. Thank you, RJ. Thank you, Chris. D, Lucky Drive multimodal improvements concept.
All right, Chair Bosio, thank you. I'll be sharing this one. I think, Chris, if you can unshare and I can take over.
Oh, sure.
All right, let's give it a try. All right, so this is a project that has been discussed a couple rounds in the Safe Routes Task Force. In particular, there have been, half dozen or a dozen comments over the years from Redwood High School students trying to figure out a solution here. Currently, so here's Redwood High School off to the left. And as you know, most of the cars turn here onto Pfeiffer to either get on the freeway or, continue north toward, say, town center. And right now, cyclists come from a couple different directions, but those that are coming from the Green Brae side can go here on the north side, but then going back the other direction, it's difficult because you have to share with cars and then navigate going straight, which is a challenge because there's just so many vehicles that you can't really find a way to weave in. So like I said, this is multiple iterations. I think probably this is probably our fourth concept, but I think this one we feel good about. And the idea is here, starting from the north, moving south, bikes that are going south toward Redwood High School, for instance, can continue on. This would actually be a raised area, and it's raised mainly to promote cyclists coming southbound, raise up to this a point here to kind of, really hope that they get off their bikes and actually cross and go over. Hence the diagonal striping here as well, and get on the proper side instead of, making a more uncontrolled movement against traffic on the other side. So a couple of just visual tools there to try to promote that. And then separately, the sidewalk would remain, and there'd be a cycle track, dedicated for each direction as you continue on going south. This would require the sidewalk shifting right here, which is right next to the current building you're in. There would be a raised buffer, and we'd have to come up with something for drainage, either some openings for water and whatnot, but nothing that we can't engineer around. Separately, as you continue on, you'll see this kind of bends over, and this is where we've got a bus stop, so we kind of had to shift this into a multi-use path or a 8-foot wide sidewalk. Is kind of how it functions. And then this also has a little kind of loop around at first to kind of help with the blended transition for, bikes and peds that were used to using this as a separate facility and now having time to kind of come together in a hopefully safe and controlled fashion. And then it could tie in with the existing facilities here at Doherty and Redwood. It's also been our understanding that Larkspur is considering a traffic circle here in the future. So Parisi did also look at that to make sure that, if we did move forward with our project here, that it still would jive with that future project. So really they've done that here and also shown the various bike turning movements. So that path now could also be integrated with this traffic signal and a crossing either here or here, with not a whole lot of adjustment. And so this is a project that I know Safe Routes is really excited about. It's one that I think would compete well for one of TAM's upcoming grants for Safe Pathways in the fall. And so at the moment, I'm thinking it's a potential front runner, but obviously want to hear from you all and see if that's in line with what you guys think are the priorities for the town. And with that, happy to open for questions.
Thank you, RJ.
Yeah.
Any questions from BPAC members? RJ.
RJ, what's the timeline in terms of getting real design feedback from the BPAC? One of the reasons that I'm struggling here is because the temporary chambers no longer have the two big monitors. And so it's really difficult to see and visualize what's closer for you to see.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible that it can come back before the BPAC again?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, right now we haven't budgeted design funds. We're really, I think at the moment would be just gearing up for that grant application in the fall potentially. So there's plenty of time to comment on this. So we can post these concepts and share them, and you can get comments to us in the next few weeks. Would be more than enough time.
And what we were just seeing will go up onto the BPAC, or does Public Works have a tab for this Lucky Drive project as a separate tab, or how can we view that screen?
Chris, you sometimes have been putting them on the BPAC webpage, is that right?
Yeah, I think they may have cleaned up the webpage, but there's still an area that items can be posted. So We can probably create a link to it on the feedback web page.
And just one other question, that slide said parametrics, I think, is that a division or a new name for Parisi Transportation?
That's correct. Parametrics is a much larger firm and they bought out Parisi, but he still has a team that he works closely within or with in that group, is my understanding.
Thank you. Any other questions from BPAC? Is there any member of the public who wishes to comment on this topic? None in the meeting, anybody online, Chris?
Yes, we have 5 online.
5.
Yeah, geez. So I'll start with Matt. Go ahead, Matt, and we.
And also real quick, this looks like a wonderful project. So bravo, full speed ahead. From what I can see on my screen, like the design looks almost perfect as it is. I'm sure there'll be some tweaks later, but really supportive. This is really great project for safe routes to school and for neighbor and for the whole community and for access to the Larkspur Ferry and for access to SMART. It really ties in the whole Central Marin network of pathways and provides some really excellent connectivity between existing projects on to either side. So thank you for pursuing this project and good luck.
Thank you. Next.
We have Odin. You can unmute yourself.
Hello, I'm a student at Redwood High School and I am very supportive of this project. I know myself and some friends bike that route daily. Hundreds of kids do it, I think. And this is a very needed improvement to this corridor. And I also am especially supportive of the roundabout at that intersection because the current slip lane in front of the school is pretty dangerous for people walking as well. And yeah, I'm just very supportive of this project and would like to see it move forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Julian, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, I'm Julian. I know we talked about there's a bunch of students coming in. So I'm also a student at Redwood High School. I bike this route every day as well. And I am completely supportive of this project. And I'd also like to mention, if we're talking about connectivity, the bridge coming over from Greenbrae, that overpass, I know there's been some improvements on the other side of the freeway, especially recently. But right now it's not a very good situation because it gets sort of wider and then narrower and then wider again. And there's a lot of bottlenecking in the middle. So if we're looking for even more improvements, that is also an area that I'd love to see improved. And then the other thing is farther along Lucky Drive. I know this the road would probably be paved with the project, which I really hope. There are some major flooding issues that go on, especially with the tides that happen down with the houses closer to the freeway. And I'd also like to see those fixed because that is a huge issue with people coming through. You have to navigate huge puddles over there, and it's not very fun. But yeah, again, very supportive of the project. Thank you for having this two-way lane, and the roundabout is amazing. I like to see this get pushed forward because there's tons of students that come through every day.
Thank you. Next.
All right, Warren, go ahead.
Yep, Warren Wells of the Northern County Bicycle Coalition again. Just want to say full support in this project and really looking forward to writing a letter of support if you guys would like one when you apply for that grant. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Anybody else?
It looks like that's it.
That's it. Back to BPAC for any comments.
My comment is to both Odin and Julian, the Redwood High School students. The BPAC has some vacancies, and if you're going to go to the college in Marin for the next couple of years, you both should consider applying to provide younger transportation people like you on the BPAC if you so desire. Otherwise, I look forward to looking at the slide once it's posted. It sounds like a project that's overdue and well designed.
Anything else? I just want to add to that, RJ, great project. I work locally, I drive through that intersection all the time. Huge improvement. I think the roundabout's a great idea, the bike lanes, it's fantastic. Move forward as quickly as you can. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. That's it for discussion items. We're on to future agenda item 7. Any suggestions for future agenda items? Feedback numbers.
So, consistent with that TAM meeting we went to, Bob, if Department of Public Works feel that they can put it on the agenda, the southern segment of the north-south greenway project, as I discussed before, you know, it would link up to Industrial Way, and it's never too premature to bring that up and see what the process is, working with TAM and other Larkspur if necessary, to see if we can push that through, even with some of the problems in connecting it to the north. And then last time I brought up whether it was appropriate to have the Central Marin Police Authority come and give us the presentation that they have done in the past, which is they put together their data for collisions and between pedestrians and cars and bikes and cars, and kind of identify places that they have from responding, and also whether they're willing to do a presentation regarding all of the coordination that they've done with other police chiefs in Southern Marin on e-bikes. So those are the two things that I'd like to see come back if it's not premature for the southern segment of the north side Greenway, and if CMPA is willing to put together someone to come speak to us.
Vice Chair, if I may just comment on the second item.
Sure.
And maybe you already know from attending council meetings. So they do do an annual report to council. And then separately, Central Marin PD is at a very, very historic low in terms of staffing. So I just have heard multiple times where they're just spread as thin as they've possibly ever been spread. So I'm gonna be honest, I don't completely feel right asking for them to come for that reason. But they do and will still continue to do the report to council. So unless I hear very affirmatively that request needs to happen, it just knowing what I know about their struggles, I don't quite feel right making that request at this time.
Appreciate the insights, RJ.
Thank you. And then if I can just add the comment on the north-south greenway, I would love to see us figure that out. I know that there's been a lot of push from TAM to just finish it off down Redwood. Huge mistake. Cost Plus Plaza is on the housing element for Larkspur, and I think it is in line for, I want to say, 140 units potentially, as well as commercial. So what is already a disastrous idea is going to become far worse, whereas we have an opportunity to go behind it and turn that into a wonderful bike connection directly to the ferry, which also solves parking problems at the ferry. So if we can take another look at that and figure that out, and then use that to go after some of that $40 million a year TAM gets, you know, I think we can make that happen. I'd love to see that finish. We can really, there's money out there, and this is a great way to use it and also solve traffic problems, I think, locally. So that's it for future agenda items for me. Then I guess that's it. We're done. Thank you, and we adjourn the meeting. Thank you for everybody for your attendance and your input. Appreciate it. Thank you.